5.
Act 5.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, all of you who've been on this journey with us. It's just lovely that you've been following us along the Cymbeline Road. So we get finally to Act 5, which is so complicated, it's almost hardly worth telling you the story. But it starts with Posthumus, who's just arrived with the Roman army, and he's holding a bloody cloth in his hand, and he thinks it's covered in the blood of Imogen. It's the cloth that Pisanio had sent him, and he's feeling so guilty that he's caused his wife to be murdered, and he says, I can't actually fight against my wife's country as well as having her murdered. That would be too awful. I'm going to pretend to be a Briton. I'm going to go back to being a Briton. And he strips off his Roman armour there and then in front of us all and reveals himself as a poor grotty British soldier and goes off to fight. And then there's a lot of fighting in this scene, and the next thing we see is him, actually the rest of the army got lost, and somehow Posthumus and Iachimo are having a terrific fight, and Posthumus, of course, being a superhero, wins, leaving Iachimo defeated on his knees, and he has a speech to the audience saying, good grief, these poor croddy British soldiers are so brilliant, they must be like gods if all the rest of them are like this one. And then there's a huge amount of more fighting, and Cymbeline is captured, and then Guiderius, Belarius and Arviragus, aided by now by Posthumus, rescue Cymbeline, and the Brits all get brave again and rush off after the Romans and win the day. And I think that that's the end of Act 2, Scene 2 I mean. And then Scene 3 starts with Posthumus asking a chap who's running away. He said, were you running away? And the other guy says, yes, I was. It was the most terrible fight. And then Posthumus says, well, I can tell you what happened. There was this amazing fight, and you were...
Narrow lane, isn't it?
Narrow lane, that's it. And an old man and 2 boys, and somebody else helped them. But anyway, the Romans have now flown, and we, the Brits, are victorious, and the other guy runs off. And then Posthumus turns to us again and says, look, I was trying to get killed in this battle, but I failed. I'm just going to have to turn back to be a Roman, because I know that so many Brits have been killed by the Romans that there'll be a terrible reprisal now that the Brits have won, and they're bound to execute all the Roman soldiers. So I'll change back to being a Roman, and then I'll get executed, and so I'll die for Imogen. I'll manage it somehow. And at that point, in come some British soldiers, is that right? And they see who's there, and he's got back into his Roman kit somehow, difficult production problem. And he says the Romans, so they capture him and take him off to see the king. And then he falls asleep after he's been thrown into jail. He falls asleep, and he has a spectacular dream. And first of all, he dreams that his father and mother, his dead father and mother, the ghosts of his dead father and mother, and all his family have come to visit him and tell him that actually it's not fair. They're begging Jupiter, in fact, the king of the gods, please don't go on being so mean to Posthumus, because he deserves better than this. He's been valiant and brilliant and saved Britain, and please, please. And at that moment there's a thunderbolt and a lightning flash, and out of the clouds flies Jupiter with his eagle in a great rage. He says, be quiet, you ghost. Stop. What does he say, Phil? No more with your din.
Well, he finishes off, yes, saying, no further with your din, express impatience, lest you stir up mine, Mount Eagle, to my palace crystalline.
And then he flies back up to the clouds, and Posthumus is left with on his chest a tablet. It's called a tablet, a book of sorts, in which is a wonderful prophecy which he reads and can't make much sense out of, but he thinks it's something positive. And then at that point, in back come the jailers and take him off to join the other Roman prisoners and take him to the king. And the last scene is too complicated to explain. It's impossible.
We're not going to.
But everything happens, everybody's reunited, everything's peaceful and wonderful. The bad chaps have got their deserts. The queen is...
The king discovers that his wife has been so terrible.
He discovers, so that puts him out and puts him in a rather generous frame of mind. And when Iachimo is confronted with Posthumus, and Cymbeline says, you can say what you like to this evil Italian, Posthumus says, live and learn to deal with others better. So that's positive. And then Cymbeline says to the Romans, look, okay, we won the battle, but we'll go on paying tribute in the interests of harmony and friendship. And that's the end of it. Harmonious and wonderful. Britain is fortunate and lives in peace and plenty.
And they go off to the temple.
And they go off to the temple to say hurrah for Jupiter.